educational objective and its application in outcome-based evaluation of students. Uh, as I have mentioned that this is the first time I have engaged her service, though this is the first time, and I feel very lucky that with a very open-hearted, she has accepted our request. Ma'am, I hope that you will be having a nice time. Uh, Before you start your presentation, one information is that we do not give our participant the option to open their microphone or camera, because it used to happen that they used to forget to close again, and it is to disturb the resource person. So if
Yes,
they have
yes.
anything, they can put on the chat box. Okay, at the end of the session, you can look, and if they have any question, you can address it at the end of the session. Okay, ma'am. So you may
Okay.
proceed, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you so much. So, first of all, let me wish you a warm good afternoon to all respected faculties from different disciplines. I hope you are from both science as well as social science
Yes.
backgrounds, as I could not come across with you in the physical mode, but I can see that there are 99 participants. Uh,
We will be having around 140. This is the first session after lunch, so they will be keeping on joining, ma'am.
okay,
We
okay.
have 160 participant, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Before we begin, sir, let me first extend my warm gratitude to MMTTC, HRDC, Mizoram University, because this is not my first class in MMTC. I have been taking classes in Gauhati University Center also, and I'm also associated with CCRT, that is in Guwahati. So basically, it is about teachers training, and this is our basic job, that is grooming our upcoming teachers. So I'm very happy to be associated with the MMTCC of Mizoram University. But beforehand, let me just know a little brief from Sir only, like what are the topics so far they have been introduced with in the
Uh,
FIP? Yeah.
yes, ma'am. The first 2 week, like the first 1 week, we have dedicated it for education oriented lectures. Okay, so just before your session, a faculty from Mizoram University is talking about role of educators in promoting environmental awareness through value addition. Okay, then the first class of today is taken by a professor from JNU, Zakir Hussain Center for Education. He talks about mind the gap, analyzing inequalities in higher education in India. Okay, which is quite very interesting. Then
Okay.
yesterday, a professor from Punjab University talk about inclusive and equitable quality higher education. Then Professor Minati Panda from the same JNU talks about holistic and multidisciplinary education. And uh, yesterday, a professor from Saint Xavier's Institute of Education, Mumbai, talks about classroom management.
Okay.
Then Professor Lianzoli, who is a principal in a B.Ed college in Mizoram, she talks about student diversity and inclusive education. Then on Tuesday, a professor from University of Hyderabad talks about learning practices. Then
Okay.
a professor from Mizoram University talks about curriculum development through the lens of interdisciplinary, and a professor from Mumbai talks about curriculum and evaluation quality paradigm. Then again from Mumbai University, she talks about self-esteem, belief in oneself. Then Monday, a professor from RIE, a Regional Institute of Education, Mysore, talks about equitable and inclusive higher education, innovative pedagogy to reach every learner. Then I think that you have known Professor Gayatri.
Yes, yes,
Yes, Professor
yes.
Gayatri talks
Yes,
about early childhood care and education in the light of NEP.
okay.
Then Dr. Krishna Kant, who is a faculty from Mizoram University, talks about importance of language in higher education. Then a professor from Calcutta University, her name is Sudesna Lahiri. She talks about code of conduct and professional ethics for leaders in academia. So
Okay.
those are the topic which they have dealt till today, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Sir, and I'm very happy that none of these topics have, touched the one now I'm going to deliver.
Yes,
That's
it's
why.
purely new.
Not exactly new, but it is something very important that we teachers, we have to be, little bit aware about the, taxonomy of learning. So that is one thing. And also, sir, one information from your side, like what is the teacher diversity in the class? How many are from science, and what is the teacher diversity or participants?
That I don't know clearly, ma'am, because I do
Okay.
not touch the registration and the details. Our
Okay.
staffs are doing that. The only thing
Okay.
which I do is to coordinate to engage the resource person and to set the timing. So I do
Okay.
not
No.
know them in detail because I haven't received the detail. But by the end of this week, I may be receiving those details.
Okay, that then without wasting much of our time, then I will now move on to my presentation.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
in between, if I request our participants, in between, if they feel any kind of query or any thing they want to ask me, they are please feel free to interact with me. As I have been told that you are not supposed to open your mic, but you can chat directly to me here, and I'll be leaving my mobile number also with you, so that we may be in touch. So that is from my end. And again, now let me just move on to my presentation. And again, I would like to request my participants, if they are feeling free, they may mention their subject specialization, so that the way I will be delivering, I would be knowing you personally about your background. So from where I would start. Okay, I am observing somebody from physics. Okay, thank you so much for responding. Yes, another one from mathematics, another one from economics. Okay, public administration, history. Okay, English, zoology. Yeah, chemistry, physics, commerce. Oh, welcome. Psychology, geography, economics. Thank you so much for responding to me. So now, as I'm aware about your parent discipline as well as your subject specialization, it will be helpful for me to interact with all of you. So let us now begin with my presentation. I hope you will be listening to me carefully, and in between, if you feel free, you may please chat with me in the chat box. Thank you so much, sir. So let me just introduce you. Let me share my screen with all of you. I am taking one moment. Share screen. কি হলো এটা? Window. First, river version go first over level. First slide. Sharing good. Well said. Okay, screen. It is a full screen. Good. Are you seeing my screen slides? Can you observe my slides? Anyone? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, respected participants and respected coordinators of this very important FDP for teacher education. So as you can see, my topic of today's presentation is about introducing you all to the taxonomy of educational objectives and its applications in outcome based education of our students. So, to begin with, let me explain that to teach in a classroom setting is not a very easy task. It is rather a very challenging task considering the present trend of students' diversity as well as the inclusion of ICT based educational setting in the classroom. And as such, as a teacher, actually, we face a lot of challenges while handling with our entire lesson which we are supposed to teach, the contents which we are supposed to disseminate, and also to ignite our students to the topic as well as to aspire them for higher areas of learning achievements. So while we proceed with that, we have to have some basic ideas about what is the taxonomy. As we can see that taxonomy refers to a hierarchical system for classifying learning objectives or educational goals based on complexity and specificity. So when we enter a classroom setting, we are supposed to be aware about the learning attainments of our students in their previous class settings, and also what are the educational goals they are supposed to pursue during the specific course of their curriculum. So, as such, we need to have a little idea about the taxonomy, which provides a framework for organizing and categorizing learning outcomes. Because the present day education is always more goal oriented and it is always learning outcome specific. So the NEP 2020, as we are also little bit aware, that is focusing on achieving the learning outcomes by each and every student in their respective disciplines. So when we talk about taxonomy, it actually helps us in directing ourselves towards the learning outcomes, which helps us to design a curriculum and assess students' outcomes. The most well known taxonomy in the field of education is being given by Bloom, Dr. Benjamin S. Bloom. As you can see, Benjamin S. Bloom was an American educational psychologist and a didactician who made contributions to the classification of educational objectives and also to the theory of mastery in learning. So, our students, when they enter our classroom setting, or we as a beginner as a teacher, as I have been told that you all are basically for the orientation or faculty development programs at the very beginning, as you are belonging to different other disciplines, like somebody have mentioned that he is from physics, somebody is from mathematics, somebody from economics, somebody from history, and somebody from economics. So you know your own subject knowledge, but how to deliver that knowledge, we also have to know the little bit idea about how do we begin, how do we proceed our course contents in a very easy as well as in a very scientific way, so that whatever are the learning outcomes we have set forth must be accomplished. And as such, what we wish to see from our students in terms of their achievements is actually giving in return. As a teacher, we always want to be successful. I know that you all are delivering your subject matter with due sincerity, with due clarification, with due clarity, but with a little bit of idea from the Bloom's taxonomy, I think you will be more guided towards your goal of your, curriculum deliberation. So that is why we are now going to talk about the taxonomy, which has been designed by Benjamin S. Bloom, and it is also going to be helpful for us in particularly finding out the learning outcomes of our students. So to talk about the taxonomy, as you can see, the taxonomy actually divides our learning objectives into three basic domains. One very important domain is the cognitive or the knowledge based domain. That is where our more central focus has been there from the time immemorial. So our basic focus is on mastery of learning from the cognitive background, from the mental as well as intellectual background. But very importantly, we also achieve from the affective or the emotional bent of our mind, and also from the psychomotor or the action based, which is also very integral part in the achievement of our skills as well as our abilities. So whenever we deliver any important concept in our classroom setting, we have to know that this particular topic, or this particular, maybe it is from science, maybe it is from economics, maybe it is from mathematics, we have to understand the value of learning that particular topic. Why are we learning that particular topic? Why are we giving emphasis on a specific theory? What is the use of the same? What is the value addition of the same topic or the same content in our social upliftment, in our payback to the society? That is the emotional based of our learning, and that is very important. When we observe our students, like some students are very much motivated, very much target specific, target oriented in their achievement, whereas some are always diverted. So when they accept the content from the affective point of view, both cognitive as well as affective working together, that is the emotional upliftment of the students, and also from the psychomotor, that is the eye hand coordination, the psychomotor skills and abilities, then only they will be goals directed and they will achieve as it is being expected. And it is not only ways 100% that we give emphasis on the cognitive, but it is also very important to give emphasis on the affective as well as the psychomotor domain of our achievements. This is somehow Benjamin S. Bloom have explained about our achievement. Now, regarding the academic achievement, again I'm repeating here that according to Benjamin S. Bloom, achievement actually takes place in three basic domains, that is cognitive, followed by affective, and the psychomotor. Cognitive, obviously, it is composed of all the theoretical background, all the information which we are gathering from different sources, from any topic of either masters in mathematics, masters in physics, master is in chemistry or in economics. That is the basic concepts. And then coming the affective domain, it always thinks about the application part from the social upbringing point of view. And the psychomotor is always talking about the skills and efficacy which we are going to grasp as a human being who are highly educated in a specific discipline.
Hello,
Or
ma'am.
yes, please.
The slides are not moving.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it now
Uh,
moving?
no, ma'am. Yes, yes,
Is it moving?
yes. It's
Okay,
right
okay.
now in use of taxonomy.
Yes, yes, yes. It is there, no?
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
thank you. Okay, thank you so much. So now coming to the use of taxonomy, as you can see, firstly, design the curriculum as per the expected learning outcomes. So what are our expected learning outcomes must be very specifically mentioned in our syllabus. In whichever course we are teaching, we must be very clear as a teacher that these are my expected learning outcomes from my students. Then only my purpose will be goal directed. Then the second thing is assessment design to accurately reflect the learning objectives. So I have to design my assessment as it will reflect in terms of the learning objectives. If I am not designing my assessment as per my learning outcomes, then obviously I may not be sure about the expected learning outcomes. So that is again very important. Then third very important thing is the instructional planning. So what is my instructional planning? What are the teaching methods am I going to use? which are most appropriate in the achievement of the learning outcomes, and what are the activities the students will be performing just to express their progress. So that is why our expected learning outcomes, our assessment, as well as our instructional plan must be in proper channel. Then comes students progression, and it is monitoring. And as we all know that we are now talking about continuous and comprehensive assessment and evaluation, so that will help us in finding out my proper journey towards my expected learning outcomes. So it is again very important. And in case of teachers, we are also have to be very careful about the students entry behavior and their terminal behavior. So by entry behavior, we are talking about the previous academic background, the previous mental setup, the previous learning readiness of the students, and during the process of your studying of a specific course or maybe program, what was their performance, and that will reflect about their effective domain. If they are taking 100% participation in entire course program, that will reflect that they are valuing your content, they are valuing your teaching, they are valuing your course in totality, and that will reflect in their terminal behavior, that is their overall progression during the entire course of the study. So that is again considered as a student progress monitoring. And that monitoring is not only inside the classroom, but outside the classroom, maybe in the laboratory, maybe in the workshop, maybe in the library, their engagement, maybe during the, out of the class interaction which you take place in the classroom, or maybe within the institution, that is again part of their student progression. So they can be used to track student progress and identify areas where students may need additional support. So that additional support may be by providing some handouts, maybe by providing some videos as may be required, maybe by providing some extra tutorial classes as may be required, and as such you will be moving towards your expected learning outcome as it is being taught by Benjamin S. Bloom. So Bloom's taxonomy actually categorize learning objectives into cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain, as I have already mentioned, and it provides a framework for identifying measurable student outcomes and creating assessments aligned with those outcomes. So how are you going to assess your students is actually playing a very significant role in your achievement, either it is in cognitive or in affective or in the psychomotor domain. So as talking about psychomotor domain, there are subjects, as you have mentioned, in physics you are associated with laboratory practicals, in mathematics you are maybe teaching them with some diagram, or in history you were using some didactic apparatus. So all these are part of your application with the psychomotor domain, which is going to help you in finding out the cognitive level of experiences with the learners are gathering. Now coming to the again taxonomy, as we can see, Benjamin S. Bloom, he has described the learning achievements of our students in few areas. Like first comes the knowledge, then comes the comprehension, after comprehension comes the application, then comes analysis, which is followed by synthesis and evaluation. So as a teacher of higher education, we should not give much emphasis on cramming, much emphasis on data gathering, but on evaluation. So how are they evaluating the situation of the current trends? So that has to be asked to them through different ways of evaluation. Let me move on. As Benjamin S. Bloom has given the idea of taxonomy long back in 1956, but it had to be revised, and it has been revised in the year 2001. And the earlier concept was basically about the noun, nouns, which has been replaced by the verb elements. As you can see, the knowledge have been replaced by remember, then understand, then apply, then analyze, evaluate, and create. So creation is the highest level of achievement as being pointed out by Bloom's taxonomy. So we have to create. What do we create in higher education? So far as our school education or whatever we have studied in our undergraduate level was basically the already available stuff which we have learned and which we are reproducing in our different types of examinations. But in higher education, we are talking about MPhil or PhD dissertation or project submissions. So this project, dissertation, or PhD thesis is the creation of your own idea, and that is giving you the highest level of intellectual achievement in your respective field. So this domain actually focuses on intellectual skills and the development of critical thinking and problem solving abilities. So you are going to create a new idea, new theory, application of the existing theory in the current specific context. So that is your creation. You are writing an article. So that is your own creation. You are analyzing the current situation, you are evaluating the current situation, and you are producing new ideas through your new book publications. So this is the highest level of achievement as being put forwarded by Benjamin as Bloom. So, as a teacher in the serving in the field of higher education in any discipline, we are going to ignite our students not for remembering but understanding the situation, apply your acquired skills, analyze the situation, evaluate the situation, and you have to ignite them, you have to motivate them means the students to create new knowledge. So that is the highest level of achievement as being talked by Benjamin S. Bloom. So as you can see here, the noun form which has been replaced by verb form earlier was in 1956 and the present revision was in 2001. So let me just move on. As you can see, remember is the lowest level of our achievement. What is remembering? Recalling of facts and basic concepts. So obviously, it is nothing but duplication. It is listing down the facts and events. It is basically done through memorization, repeat, and restate. But that first level will be now moved to the second level, that is understand, grasp and explain meaning of instructional materials, classify, describe. So you please notice all these very important verb element when you are putting as a teacher, when you are trying to evaluate your students achievement, you please think, am I going to just assess my students remembering level, or am I going to move further through finding out how much they have understood by giving the statements like classify, describe, discuss, explain, identify, locate, recognize, report, select, translate. If you are putting these as the important verb element in your question, then you are trying to find out the level of understanding of your students. Now, as you can see, the second level of your achievement of your students will be applied. So what are you going to do there? That you are trying to find out the use of the information in new situation. They have been taught about the theory. Now they have to apply the same theory in creation of their new ideas, like execute, implement, solve, use, demonstrate, interpret, operate, schedule, sketch. If you are using these verb elements in your questions, then you are trying to finding out the application part of their knowledge. How are they going to apply? Obviously, the first level is remembering, then second level is understanding, third level will be applying, fourth level will be analyze. Draw connections among ideas and concepts. How they are going to analyze? They will be asked to differentiate. What is the difference between this and that? You may ask them to compare, to contrast, to distinguish, to examine, to experiment, to test. So, if you are using those verb element in your questions which you are putting based on your already predetermined learning objectives of your specific topic, then you are going to find out how much your students are mentally sound in analyzing a given situation. Once that level is attained, now you are going to evaluate them. So how are you going to evaluate? Make decisions about evaluating information. You may ask them to argue, to defend, to select, to support, to critique, to value. So, if they are capable enough to give you the proper direction, then you will find out that, okay, my students' achievement is at the very higher level of understanding, and they can now evaluate the quality of any particular idea which you are referring to. And lastly, you may ask them to create. How will they create? Use information to create something new. Design. They will be asked to design a new maybe component, assemble, construct, develop, formulate, author, investigate. So, author, if your students are capable enough to author a book, author a poem, okay, author an article, that is the highest level of their achievement. And that is our main goal of providing higher education to our students, that is research. If they are capable of conducting good quality research, and they are capable enough to get a patent for their important piece of research, then you have to understand that yes, they are achieving their goal to the 100%. So that is what Bloom's taxonomy is all about. Now, coming to talk about, I think I can skip this one. I would like to discuss this particular slide where we are showing you how to evaluate our students in terms of these specific levels of their achievement. One is remember. If you are putting action verb for remember, then obviously the one will be define, memorize, repeat, copy, define, state, list, quote, find. That will be simply the very base level of their achievement, that is remembering. After that, understand. So if they are capable enough to understand the situation or the topic which you have already taught or you are discussing, then you may put your action verb as summarize, compare, describe, explain, discuss, recognize, translate, categorize, etc. So the third level will be apply, which will refer to determine, present, examine, implement, solve, etc. etc. Then comes analyze, which will be followed by evaluate, and the last one is create. So this is what is all about the taxonomy of educational objectives. So as a teacher, we have to be very clear about, first very important thing is, what is our learning outcome, expected learning outcome of our students, and how are we going to use different methodologies for explaining our contents so that the learning outcome is 100% achieved by the students, and which have to be followed by particular and very clear assessment of the learning outcome in terms of Bloom's taxonomy, where remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create are the sequence which we as a teacher have to follow to find out the expected learning outcomes of our students. So this is how we as a teacher have to follow in our classroom setting. Now coming to, again, I think this is again a repetition. Let me just move on, and let me now talk about the very important thing, that is OBE. What is this OBE? OBE is actually the objective oriented students outcomes, which is actually focusing on defining desired learning outcomes. So what are the desired learning outcomes? How are we aligning our educational processes, and how do we achieve the outcomes effectively, is what all about the OBE is talking about. And now coming to the second slide, you will be more clear that, yes, this one. So what is this OBE is all about? Outcome based evaluation. So our education have to be very specifically, scientifically designed as per our curricular context, and it has also to be evaluated from the outcome which we are expecting from our students. So OBE architecture, as you can find out, that obviously it starts with firstly talking about the expected learning outcomes, and where we are also talking about few other things, like just we know you learning outcomes. OBE begins with the identification and articulation of clear measurable learning outcomes. These outcomes describe the knowledge, skills and abilities that students are expected to acquire by the end of a specific course or a program. So any course or a program, if we are talking about masters in economics, masters in physics, masters in mathematics, or any other subject. So what is the basic element of our course content? We have to be very sure, and it has to be certain with regard to the measurable learning outcomes. And also the educational experience. Learning outcomes are typically categorized based on cognitive, affective, as well as a psychomotor domain. So when we talk about the curriculum design, the curriculum design in OBE is based on identified learning outcomes. The course programs are structured to ensure that learning experiences, activities, and assessments are aligned with the intended outcomes. Now, you may ask me, like, what are these experiences which we are talking about? So, the experiences we are talking about, the activities we are discussing about, are based on any specific course content, which may be the experiences which we will be gathering from the classroom, outside the classroom, from the laboratory, from the workshop, from the seminar, from the conferences which we are attending, from the seminar presentations the students are providing or maybe are discussing. And also very important is their community engagement. Engagement with the community, going for surveys, conducting or collecting specimens, to work on the specimen in the laboratory, and to assess the quality of the specimen and reporting the same, are part of your experiences or activities. And assessment of the same, either through verbal assessment or through written assessment, that is viva voce, or final assessment through written examinations. All these are part of your curriculum design, and these are aligned with the intended learning outcomes. One very important thing, we have to be very much sure and clear that the students which we are now teaching are supposed to be made industry ready or society ready. They must be efficient enough as human resource who may provide service and pay back to the society. So they must be employable, they must be skilled, they must be having very good communication skills, and whichever the teaching methodology we are providing or we are adopting in our particular institutional setup, it must emphasize on not only the cognitive but affective as well as the psychomotor domain of experiences. And that is why the NEP 2020, as you all know, is talking about internships, not only at the postgraduate but starting from the very undergraduate level. As I would like to refer to our own experience in Gauhati University. From last 2 years we are offering undergraduate program inside our Gauhati University campus, and we are encouraging our students to go for internships, because the theoretical knowledge which they come across inside the classroom is purely different which they experience in the industry setup or maybe in the societal setup. They may be working in NGOs, they may be serving in banks, they may be serving in school institutions, they may be going to any other organization offering different kind of services in different fields. They may be also going to be at colleges as interns, and the kind of learning experiences they gather is actually far better than the kind of experiences we are offering them inside the classroom setting. So this will actually reflect their skills, this will actually nourish their communication abilities, and this is something we are talking about in terms of the learning outcomes, expected learning outcomes. So we have to be very sure as teachers that what are our expected learning outcomes, what are the experiences we are offering, and how are we going to assess their experiences. Then comes the next part is curriculum mapping. Curriculum mapping is often used to visualize the alignment between learning outcome, instructional content, and the assessment method. So curriculum mapping have to be always according to the learning outcome. As teacher, I know that many few of us actually go through the expected learning outcomes before we start discussing about the main topic. Normally what happens in our syllabus, our learning outcomes have to become first, they have to be mentioned on the very top of the content, then it has to be followed by the units or topics which we are going to discuss. So as a teacher, I request all of you to be kindly very sure about your expected learning outcomes. They may be there mentioned in the syllabus, may not be mentioned. So as a teacher, I have to very sure what are my expected learning outcomes and what is the instructional content am I using. Am I going to use the flipped classroom situation? Am I going to deliver the ICT oriented classroom experience, virtual learning classroom experience, or only token, chalk method am I going to use, or taking them to the, industry, to the situations where they will be gathering more real life experiences, and where how am I going to assess their achievement. So as a teacher, I have to plan everything in advance to be able to, be successful in the attainment of the learning outcome of my students. So let me just pause for a minute and let me know about any queries if our respected participants have from me. Yes, anybody? I would like to know, are you following what am I discussing? If you want to have any query with me, kindly please mention in your box, chat box. Are you listening, or am I just, it is monologue am I doing? I would like to, yes, I would like to know from you if you are, you all are listening. So in between, if you feel, you please feel free to discuss with me any important matter. Should we continue? Okay, thank you so much, because it is somehow, becomes very boring and one sided as I cannot see any one of you. So let me, yes, thank you so much. So let us then again continue. Yeah. So from here, let us now move on to the next part. So when we are talking about the instructional strategies, what OBE is, that is outcome-based evaluation, is talking about that OBE emphasizes active and student-centered learning approach that engage the learners in meaningful activities and promote deeper understanding. So the students' understanding should not only be at the peripheral level, but they must be provided with the clear concepts. How do they get the clear concept? Obviously, with engagement with the teacher, when they are performing the task, they are going to the field, they are creating new knowledge. So that is something very important part of your instructional strategy. So instructional strategies may include problem solving learning, it may be project based learning, it may be collaborative learning, it may be inquiry based learning, and experiential learning methods. So these strategies are selected based on their ability to support the achievement of the learning outcomes. So we all know about the problem based learning. We give a problem and the students will find out the solution. But in the selection of the problem itself, there is a very skill required, very high skills required. What will be your problem? So when we are conducting PhD or research, one thing is very important, that is, consider it as a topic of your PhD research or a problem of your PhD research. So when you start working as a problem of your PhD research, which you really want to find a solution, then obviously your thinking will be different. And if it is simply a topic, then obviously your thinking or your grasping of the situation will be different. So problem selection is again a very crucial part of our learning. Then comes the project based learning. Obviously we all understand, if you give a project to the student, how are they going to use different resources to find out, to deliver the entire project in due course of time with the elements which you really wanted to know from them. So it has to be started with a proper selection of the objectives, proper selection of the methodology, proper selection of the research design. So everything have to be very clear cut. So that is how we have to be very sure regarding giving assignments to our students. Then again, we have to also be careful about the AI generated delivery. So obviously we all are aware about chat GPT. So if that particular delivery or submission is part of their chat GPT, or is it their original thinking or original production? So we have to also make sure so that our learning objectives are clearly achieved. Then comes collaborative learning, which is the best thing so far as a teacher I came across. When the students collaborate with one another, they give you some very surprising results. So as a teacher, we should, as I'm talking about the undergraduate as well as at the post graduation level, not obviously at the PhD level, but at the college, undergraduate or at the postgraduate level, we should always go for collaborative learning experience for our students, so that new ideas may be come across. Then comes inquiry based learning experiences. Obviously that is not possible for all subjects, but subjects like physics, chemistry, or mathematics, and also about history, we may go for inquiry based learning. And also about economics and political science, there is a lot of scope for giving assignments based on inquiry based learning. So that is again very good idea. Then experiential learning methods. So when we talk about experiential learning methods, I think in the field of humanities, in the field of literature, there is a whole lot of scope for experiential learning methods. So as a teacher, we have to be very careful that there is no kind of malpractices being adopted by our students, and we are 100% sure about the expected learning outcomes. Then moving on to assessment methods. Assessment method in outcome based education is focused on evaluating the students. So attainment of the intended learning outcomes, assessment methods should be aligned with learning outcomes and designed to measure students knowledge, skills, competencies as effectively as possible. So it may be formative assessment, or it may be summative assessments. So student feedback is again a very important part of our formative as well as the summative assessments, so that we may evaluate the students overall achievement. Now coming to overall achievement, as we have been talking about, as I can go back to one very important slide here. What is our overall achievement? It is this one. Yes, one is cognitive domain, second one is affective domain, and third one is psychomotor domain. Cognitive obviously talks about the mental processes, application of intelligence, application of aptitude, application of our knowledge base methods in passing the exam or in writing the answer scripts. But affective domain will be reflected in their criticism of the situation, criticism of the, and also about the use of the language. How are they criticizing the current situation? How are they reflecting their ideas, emotions through their write up, is actually basically the affective domain. And the last one is the psychomotor, the doing aspect. So as a teacher, if we are assessing, if really we want to assess our students 100%, then we have to be very sure about the holistic you know achievement of our students, not only in the cognitive but affective as well as the psychomotor domain. So as a teacher, we have to be very clear. So in the question paper or in the assessment procedure, we have to give emphasis not only to the cognitive but also to the affective as well as the psychomotor domain, so that we really understand how our students are valuing the course whichever they are studying, either it is medical, engineering, teacher education, or any other post graduation degree. So we have to be very very sure, very very clear, and then only we can achieve our expected learning outcomes. Now moving on to the next part, feedback and reflection. So OBE emphasizes the importance of providing feedback to the students to support their learning and development. Feedback should be timely, specific, constructive, helping the students understand their strengths and areas of improvement. So feedback, how do we give the feedback? In the present day context, when we discuss about the feedback, obviously the summative assessment is not going to help us in giving the feedback as required, and the reflection as may be very important for improving the students performance. So that is why more of a summative but a formative assessment is very much integral part of our expected learning outcomes. So that is why very often we have to conduct examinations, quizzes, we have to interact with our students either in the verbal or in the written mode, and we have to give them the feedback in terms of not only the scores or the marks, but feedback regarding their writing skills, regarding the improvement in their use of language, improvement in their presentation of ideas. These are also very important part of our student achievement. As a teacher, we should also be careful in giving proper feedback to our students. From my own experience, as I would like to speak, that in our Gauhati University, we basically come across students who are very very meritorious, but they have a drawback. The drawback is that almost you can say 80% of them are from mother tongue or regional language. So studying in a vernacular medium, and all of a sudden they are coming to the post graduation level and studying at the English medium level brings a lot of stress on the students. So as a teacher, I come across students who are earlier very good meritorious students. They were scoring very good marks in their undergraduate, but in post graduation they are trailing behind, and the reason is nothing but their language inefficiency. So as a teacher, we in our department, we try to assess our students learning not only from the marks they were getting in the examination, but also, as I have just mentioned to you, how they are improving their learning skills, how are they improving their language application, how are they improving in their idea explanation in terms of their ideas, their topics of selection of their dissertation or the projects. These are also expressed to them so that they are finding motivated and they may excel in their expected learning outcome levels. So this is something, my humble suggestion to all my respected participants, to not only discuss about the scores out of 50, what is their score. Out of 50, if a student is getting 35, that is also not a very good score. But if he is improving in his learning efficacy in terms of the language proficiency, in terms of the idea explanation, etc., that should also be mentioned to them in some way or other, and that is possible when we apply our outcome based evaluation. So that is something from my side, as a not very experienced but as a practitioner of higher education. So next is continuous improvement. OBE is characterized by a cyclical process of continuous improvement. Educators regularly review the and revise the curriculum, instructional strategies, and assessment of the methods based on feedback from stakeholders, assessment data, and changes in the educational goals or standards. That we all understand that our curriculum have to be revised time and again, and we should give stress on all the relevant 21st century skills which are in requirement at the present current times. So in our Gauhati University, we are using outcome based evaluation from the last 2 years in the undergraduate as well as in the post graduation level, and we are giving them the expected learning outcomes in a diagrammatic manner, and they are assessed accordingly, and they were also informed about their current progress in terms of feedback, and that feedback is not only given to them but also to their stakeholders, and that is helping them in improving their earlier achievement levels and the current achievement levels. This is very integral part of our present day educational system. So moving on to next thing, we have to be very much sure in terms of OBE what are our program outcomes, what are our program specific outcome, and what are our course outcomes. Because from the point of view of OBE, PO, PSO, and CO, they are the most important leading, leading target which help us in improving our students performances. POs are what? POs are actually overarching the statements that describe the knowledge, skill, and attitude that students are expected to demonstrate upon the completion of a specific program. What is the program? Maybe MSc in mathematics, MSc in physics, masters in economics, masters in history. So a graduate of masters in economics, what are the knowledge, what are the skills, what is the attitude is expected to them, is expected from them to be demonstrated, that have to be very much clear in the syllabus itself, so that the students are clear about, yes, these are my skills which have I have to demonstrate, and this is how I have to progress. That is very important, and it is always aim and goal directed. Then comes your PSO. PSO are the statements that describe the specialized knowledge, skills, and competencies that are specific to a particular program or a specialization within a program. So, within a specific program, there will be again some specializations. As from my point of view, we are offering masters in education and also med as well as B.Ed. So B.Ed training is again a part of our field of education. M.Ed program is again a part of our field of education, and masters in education is again a field of our original, that is education subject. Now there are differences between MA in education, M.Ed in education, and also a B.Ed and also DLED diploma. Okay, so the students have to be very much clear about the competencies, the specific qualities, and the skills they have to demonstrate as a performer, as a practitioner, as a student of a specific discipline or a course. So that is something very clear, that has to be very clear if we really want to implement OBE as a teacher of higher education, and which is the in thing in the current situation of application of NEP 2020 in the context of Indian higher education. Now coming to CO. COs are what? COs are the specific statements that describe the learning objectives and the outcomes of individual courses within a program. So in every course, there are different, contents. Say, for example, in our field of education, we have one paper that is talking about inclusive education. Another paper is talking about economics of education. One more paper talking about psychology of student learning. Maybe another paper is about research methodology in higher education. So every paper have its own specific learning outcomes. So before we start discussing the students, before we take a class of a higher education, we have to be very sure about our PO, PSO, and also the COs, that is the course outcomes, so that we as a teacher are clear, and also our students are also clear in return, and they move towards the expected learning outcomes. And the final assessment in an OBE approach is the estimation of the level of attainment of POs as well as the PSOs. So, what is the level of attainment of our respective students in terms of the PO, that is the program outcome, and also the program specific outcome? These outcomes are estimated from the estimates of all COs, that is the course outcomes and the activity outcomes. Activity outcomes of the entire program. There may be n number of activities they have come across. Maybe few activities inside the classroom, few activities they have conducted outside the classroom. Inside the classroom activities, maybe the quizzes they have participated, maybe the class tests they have gone through, maybe the brainstorming sessions which they have gone through, maybe the collaborative learning experiences which they have gone through, and also outside the classroom, maybe the activities they have performed in the workshop, in the laboratory, in the library, while collecting relevant information. All these have to be clubbed together just to find out their progression in terms of the learning outcomes. So outcomes and other activities have been mapped into the respective POs and the PSOs in terms of the strength of the mapping. Let me just show you one diagram here. Yeah, as you can see, every institution have its own individual vision and a mission. The vision and the mission of every institution have to be reflected where? In the program educational objectives, PEOs. Then comes the program outcomes, POs. Then the program specific outcomes. Program specific outcomes will be different for different disciplines. Discipline from arts will be their own specific, program outcomes. Discipline of science will be having their own program specific outcomes, and accordingly the discipline of management. Then comes the course outcome, that is the CO1. If there are total 5 papers for one particular semester, say semester 1. So for semester 1, there are 5 papers. Paper number 1, it's course outcome number 1. Paper number 2, course outcome number 2. Paper number 3, course outcome number 3. And OBE as being designed. And mind you that all these course outcome 1, course outcome 2, course outcome 3 is aligned with your program specific outcome, that is masters in psychology or masters in economics, masters in physics or masters in mathematics. As a whole, PO, that is program outcome for as a whole, the MA program, MSc program or MCom program or BCom program or B.Ed program. Then the program educational objectives. Gauhati University has its own individual vision and mission that have to be reflected through our program educational objectives, and these have to be again supported by course outcome, program specific outcome, program outcome, and obviously the program educational outcome. And all these are part of our, as you can see, the graduate attributes, ZAs. Okay, so let me again take a pause. So my respective participants, yes, my respective participants, do you have any query regarding the discussion or the lecture which I am delivering at present? Are you having any queries? Kindly please give your queries in the chat box. Are you listening or are you enjoying? Are you engaging yourself? Do you have any query? Are you having any queries regarding the CO, PO or the PSO or the learning outcomes? Anyone? Or do you have any idea regarding the use of the same in your own institution level? Are you using them? Are you using them? Yes, we are enjoying the lecture. Yes, very informative, interesting. Yes, we are using these. Oh, very good. I'm so happy that you are using them. Yes. Had it been an, physical mode of class? Yes, ma'am. I missed out connection. Okay, no problem. We are using them. Very good. I'm so happy that somebody, Rajni Narsa Ria, is using the PO and PSO. Very good. I'm so happy. Yes. So should we continue? There are not many slides left. So should we continue? Course articulation matrix. Yes, please explain the. Yes, I will. While defining course outcome in one subject module, why can you define COs? Yes, obviously I can. In that case, I would like to show you one syllabus. Once I finish with my presentation, I will show you one syllabus where all these PO and PSOs are already mentioned. Okay. Yes, yes, obviously. Can you please demonstrate with some example? Yes, sure. Questions, ma'am. Clarity, the K type questions, ma'am. Yeah, knowledge type question. Yes, I will. Sure. So let me then finish with my presentation and we will come to your queries. So I think this is the module which we are following in our university. And coming to the next slide. Yeah, development of the course plan. Firstly, how do we develop our course plan? Firstly, we have to identify the course objectives. The course objectives obviously will have to be according to the subject or according to the paper I am teaching. Maybe it is a paper in psychology, so the course objectives will be aligned with the core content of the paper. That is students learning the psychology of learner, then the learning methods, then the theories of learning and motivation. Maybe these are some blind topics which we were offering in the course, and accordingly we have to mention at least 2 3 or at least 4 course objectives. Then we have to outline the course content. Actually what happens, based on the course objective, we have to design our course outline and the course contents. So whatever I want to achieve my students from my particular course, I have to accordingly outline my course content. So that is how we actually progress. Then comes design the learning activities. Which are the learning activities that I am going to engage my students in their journey towards their learning outcomes. Okay, so I have to design my learning activities accordingly. If I am teaching some activities through basically about the talk and chart method, then talk and chalk method, then some activities may be through collaborative learning, some activities through demonstration, some activities through PPT presentations, some activities through seminar presentations by the student themselves, some activities by going outside the classroom to the society by collecting information from the respective individuals. I have to design accordingly. Then develop the assessments. So how am I going to assess my students have to be also designed in advance, so that my journey towards the learning outcomes are smooth. Then comes the integration of technology. So obviously sometimes I may think about a virtual classroom setting. I may think about use of videos to ignite their minds regarding the effective domain, the value aspect of their learning. That I may do. Sometimes maybe I simply need to integrate technology with some slide presentations, or maybe anything else as may be required. I need to plan advance. So create a course schedule. So yes, this is very important. How do I schedule my class? How many class will be regarding talk and chalk method? How many class will be student participation interaction? How many class I will be taking them? How many hours I will be taking them towards the community assessment or community involvement? I have to plan in advance so that my movement of my journey is smooth one. Then comes promote active learning. How do I need to promote active learning? It is not only giving them assignments. If we simply give them assignments in the classroom, either they will be using ChatGPT or maybe simply copy and paste. So I have to think about activities which will really engage them towards the learning assessment program. So that is very important. Then consider diversity in learning. Diversity in learning in terms of different methodologies. That is very much sure by every teacher. Then alignment with the standards. So what are the standards earlier being achieved by my earlier students, and what is the current standards? Normally what happens, student to student there are always variation, and we all know that there exists individual differences. So I think you are little bit aware about the program learning instructions. So sometimes I need to take the help of teaching machines in terms of program learning instruction, and as such I may help the students to grasp the expected learning outcomes during the course of our journey. Then review and revision. This is again a very important part of our movement towards our journey towards achieving the outcome based education. Then comes innovative practices. So what are the innovative practices that we are using in our university for OBE process? Firstly, as we all are using project based learning, that we all understand. Project not obviously in every semester, but at least in the last and final semester we are giving them project. Second one is experiential learning. We take them to the fields. What are the fields? We take them to villages. We can take them to NGOs, NGOs which are working for benefiting the deprived students. Then we also take them to schools, because our subject is basically teacher preparation. So we take them, the students, to schools as part of their practice teaching sessions, and from where they get a derive a lot of experience with dealing the classroom situations and learning how to teach. This is one. Then flipped classroom, we all know how can we adopt the flipped classroom environment. Game based learning, obviously we are not in our discipline in education, we are not using, but the technology IT departments, they were using the game based learning. Then peer learning and collaboration, obviously everyone we can use, and we are also using the peer learning and collaboration as a part of our innovative practice. Then we are using technology integration. Obviously we all are aware about the technology integration. E-learning concepts are there which we can using, and we are also using. Then reflective practices. Reflective practices is basically about giving, taking them presentations, taking their presentations. Then there is one more class, that is value added evaluation, value added course. So in the value added course, we expose them to some simulated experiences, like a situation of mock interview, a situation of mock classroom presentation. This is how we are trying to apply the communication technology in the current times. Then interdisciplinary approach, actually our subject itself is an interdisciplinary subject, and here we are engaging our students to conduct researches. Basically in the med level, dissertation are interdisciplinary. Somebody from English may take up a topic from English learning background, somebody from history will study the history of one particular very significant institution of higher learning or any specific institution, and drawing back information from there. So interdisciplinary aspect is also applied in economics of education, like how the funding for higher education is being taking place at the national level as well as in the state level, and how is it helping us in improving our educational standards of our state, that is Assam. So we are conducting a lot of, or taking a lot of interdisciplinary approaches in our research. Then community engagement, time and again we are conducting community engagement services by our students, so that they really value the education they were receiving, which is again a part of the contribution from the society. That is one we are doing. Then assessment for learning, again one very important thing we are doing, that is finding out the assessment levels of our students by conducting achievement tests at the school levels. The students are asked to conduct achievement tests for subjects like mathematics at the school level, basically at the plus 2 level, and also in class 9 and 10, student achievement for mathematics, student achievement for science, student achievement for English are conducted, and accordingly a standardized teaching module is designed just to overcome the learning gaps. So this is how we are actually using the OBE in our institutional level, and I think that will be helpful for all of you in future. Next will be, I would like to show you this slide regarding the module as you have inquired. So as you can see, the process involved in outcome based education. OBE is the central point. Then we need to plan, we need to execute, we need to check, and accordingly we are acting. Then as you can see, the mission is obviously at the top, which has to be followed by PEO, then PLO and the CLOs. Then course syllabus, pedagogies. Pedagogy is the process which we are using at the institutional level, which is at the disposal of each and every teacher of higher education. Then learning process, how the students are learning, how are they progressing, and which has to be followed by assessment. Then comes the course, the program, and the third one is the university. And here are your learning outcomes: 1, 2, 3. There may be 5 learning outcomes for every specific course. This is how we may apply OBE, and the basic purpose of using OBE, as I may move for backwards, is this one, Bloom's taxonomy, because we have to find out students learning in terms of knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Evaluation is the highest part of our achievement, and this is the earlier one, and the present one is this one: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So the top priority of every higher educational institution is to create new knowledge. How we can create? It is only by conducting, you know, original and contributory research in our respective fields. And the students of higher education have to be, you know, motivated towards creation, that is use of information to create something new. It is not only from the available information, but from the available information they have to design something new, they have to assemble, they have to construct new ideas, they have to give us new theories, they have to develop ideas and formulate new principles. This is the highest goal of every higher educational institution. And why do we need to do? Because we have to solve any and every problem which is being faced by the current society, not at your own institutional level, at your state level, at our country level, and also at the international level. So this is the main goal of our education. It is not merely, you know, scoring high marks, very high scores in exam, but we have to think about holistic academic achievement, where cognitive have to be played a very significant role, which has to have a link with our affective domain, the emotional, the feeling aspect, the value aspect of our learning, and also the doing aspect, that is psychomotor domain. And that is why we have to focus our education as per OBE, outcome based evaluation. Our outcome have to be this one, holistic development. So going again to my previous last slides. Yeah, this one I have finished. Now going to this one, that clear learning outcomes. How can we assess OBE? That clear learning outcomes, criterion referenced, authentic assessment, and variety of assessment methods. So the learning outcomes must be very clear and very specific and precisely mentioned in our syllabus. Criteria, what is the criteria? Either it is the criteria of any specific course, that 60% have to be scored by each and every student in a specific program, or it has to be 90% or 100%, 365-degree evaluation, not only from your, you know, performance in examination that is written, but what is your behavior modification, what is the skill you have gathered, how can we perform those skills in your practical life situations, how far can you solve your practical life problems, and how can you contribute towards the society for its development. That should be the criteria that should be referred in our syllabus. Then authentic assessment, authentic assessment is very very important. There should not be any subjective, you know, influence of the examiner, but it should be authentic, it should be objective oriented, and it should be clear and precise assessment with regard to the students performance. And also variety of assessment methods, as you can see, and I have also mentioned to you that we have been very much, you know, giving emphasis on the theoretical assessment, but in the theoretical assessment, a student scoring 90% may not be practically efficient and fit in the job market. So we have to also give scope for assessment from other angles. What are these other angles? Like creation of new ideas, creation of new objects, ideas which are industry dominated, which are valued in the job market, that have to be assessed, and that assessment will only be possible through dissertation, through project submissions, through presentation, and developing the communication skills. So that is why not only the verbal, but not only the written, but also the verbal assessment, viva voce, and internship has been given 100% preferences by the NEP 2020, so that our graduates are employable and they are reachable to the job market. That is something is very important for the current situations which are demanding. So OBE in a model, OBE standard of education curriculum is important. Accreditation requirements, industry have to be taken into account while talking about the OBE, and also continuous improvement. Once you have designed a syllabus, cannot always be 100% sure that it will be applicable. You need to keep on revising. So that is being talked about in terms of OBE. And the last slide, the two most important aspects of outcome-based evaluation is that objective and the outcome. So just like any other mechanism, OBE, that is outcome based education, works on providing the input and expecting the resultant output here, objective being the input and the outcome being the output. So what is the input? In our educational setting, the students are the input, we teachers are the input, our experience, our expertise, our knowledge is the input, and through this experience, expertise, and knowledge, we are going to produce very good, efficient human resource for the industry and also for the society, which will be the output. So we as a teachers have to be very clear about our task, our responsibilities, our duties, so that we are going to produce very good efficient human beings in future, and who are also humanistic in terms of their feelings, actions, and thinking. So that is what I wanted to deliver here in my lecture. Thank you very much. So now again, let me move on to your queries. Yes, kindly clarify PESO and PO. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I will be sharing with you the syllabus so that you will be clear. Just give me 1 minute. Let me just show you, as I'm not funding it. Let me just show you. Can you see my window? Can you see? Can you see this one? Outcome-based education OBE manual, Gauhati University. Can you see? Respected participants. Yvonne. Yvonne. ক'ত হেৰাই গ'ল এইটো চাই দিয়াচোন, এইটো এইখন শ্বেয়াৰ কৰি দিয়াচোন। OB, এটা আছে OB manual, এটা আছে।
আচ্ছা, এবার শেয়ার স্ক্রিন কর না,
OB. Downloadable video. Are you on it? Yes, can you see this one? Just give me one moment.
Ma'am, can we wind up? Then
Yeah.
next resource person has already
Yeah, sure.
already
Yes,
here.
we can. Yes. If you have any queries, I will be just typing my email. You may give your queries. So if you have any queries, you can mail me and accordingly I will clarify. Thank you so much. So should we stop here? Respected participants and HRDC,
Yes,
Mizoram
yes.
University. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Kalpana, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Ma'am, you can proceed. The coordinator has some meeting right now, so